There's a moment many women quietly discover when they stop explaining. Not because they've given up, but because they've realized something that no amount of explaining ever made him understand. And strangely, that's often the moment the dynamic in the marriage begins to change. Today, I want to talk to you about why, because this isn't about becoming cold or dismissive. It's about stepping into emotional maturity, and that changes how people respond to you. Now, before we go deeper, if these conversations help you feel clearer and stronger, click the like button and the subscribe button. That helps this message reach other women who are learning how to reclaim their steadiness. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with something important. Over-explaining usually comes from, a heart of goodness. You want understanding, you want fairness, and you think, if I can just explain this, he'll finally see me. And so you add context, you soften your words, you reassure him that you're not attacking, and you repeat yourself in different ways to try and get through. And what happens? Either he argues with your explanation, or the conversation circles endlessly, and that leaves you feeling unheard and exhausted. Here's what most women don't realize. When you over-explain, you are accidentally communicating, my perspective needs permission to exist. Right? My perspective needs your permission. And the moment your reality sounds negotiable, it becomes debatable. So instead of connection, you end up in a courtroom defending your own experience. But your feelings are not a debate, right? Your perception is not open for negotiation. And when you stop treating it that way, something shifts. You see, respect doesn't grow from convincing. Respect grows from certainty. When you calmly say, this is how I see it, and stop trying to persuade, you send a very different signal. You're no longer chasing agreement. You're standing in your own reality. And that quiet certainty is unfamiliar and often surprising in a marriage dynamic where you previously explained and softened and kind of negotiated your experience. So do you see the paradox? When you stop trying to make him understand, he often starts listening differently. Now, to be clear, this is not you withholding communication. This is not you going stonewalling or going silent. You're just removing the emotional over-functioning. So you still speak. You're just no longer trying to manage his reaction to what you say. Right? There's a big difference between explaining to connect and explaining to gain approval. One builds intimacy and the other drains and depletes your nervous system. When you stop explaining for approval, you become calmer and clearer and stronger. So, what does this look like practically? Instead of long explanations, you might say, this doesn't feel okay to me. See, that's not how I experienced it. Or you might say, I'm not going to debate my feelings. And then you stop. You don't feel the silence. You don't defend. You just let it stand. Now, I guarantee you, at first, this is going to feel uncomfortable because you're doing something new and different and unfamiliar. And your nervous system is used to chasing resolution in order to make you feel safe. But over time, I also guarantee you, you'll realize silence can hold much more authority than explanation. The deeper truth here is that when you stop explaining yourself endlessly, two things happen. First, you regain energy, and that's a good thing. And secondly, the relationship reveals itself more clearly, because now you're seeing how he responds when you're not working so hard to make things smooth, when you're not doing the emotional heavy lifting. And clarity, even if it's uncomfortable, that clarity is freedom. So if you're starting to experiment with speaking more simply, more calmly, without explaining everything, I want to assure you that's not you becoming distant. That's you becoming grounded. Inside the Detox Your Marriage community, we help women learn how to communicate from steadiness instead of emotional exhaustion. The link is down below. Check it out. If you want help understanding how to make this shift in your specific situation, you can schedule a nothing for sale 15-minute quick start call. The link for that is down below. And before you go, please like, subscribe, and share this with a friend. And maybe tell, write in the comments what happened the first time you stopped over-explaining. Because for many women, that's the moment that respect takes root and begins to grow.